Billionaire CEO humiliates black woman over his broken Bugatti and her response changes everything. The sleek black Bugatti Chiron sat motionless in the middle of downtown traffic, its hazard lights blinking like a distress signal. Steam rose from under the hood, and the $3 million supercar that had been purring like a contented cat just moments before now resembled an expensive paperweight. Before we dive into this extraordinary story, tell us, what city are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. We love hearing from our global family. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep this storytelling journey alive. Your support truly keeps us going. Now sit back, relax, and prepare yourself for a story that will stay with you long after it ends. Marcus Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood Industries and one of the youngest billionaires in the country, stood beside his broken dream machine, his face red with frustration. His perfectly tailored Armani suit couldn't hide the fury building inside him as curious onlookers began to gather. But what happened next would expose the ugly truth about privilege, prejudice, and the dangerous assumptions we make about people based on how they look. The question is, are you ready for a story that will challenge everything you think you know about success, respect, and redemption? It was supposed to be the perfect morning. Marcus had planned to drive his new Bugatti to the quarterly board meeting, showing up in style to impress the investors. The car was his latest trophy, a symbol of his success that he wore like a crown. But now, as black smoke began to curl from the engine, that crown felt more like a curse. "This can't be happening," Marcus muttered, pulling out his phone to call his mechanic. Not today. Not with the Henderson deal on the table. The traffic around him was getting heavier. Car horns began to honk as drivers realized the expensive car blocking the right lane wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. Marcus's anxiety spiked with each angry horn blast. That's when he noticed her. A young black woman in mechanic's coveralls was walking along the sidewalk, carrying a toolbox. Her name tag read Jordan, and she moved with the confident stride of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. She couldn't have been more than 25, with natural hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and grease stains on her hands that told the story of honest work. But Marcus didn't see any of that. All he saw was someone he could blame for his frustration. "Hey!" Marcus called out, his voice sharp and commanding. "You work around here?" Jordan stopped and looked at him with curious eyes. "I work at Peterson's auto shop, just down the block. Is everything okay?" Marcus gestured angrily at his car. "Does this look okay to you? I've got the most important meeting of my life in 30 minutes, and this piece of junk decides to die on me." Jordan approached carefully, her professional instincts kicking in despite the hostile tone. "Mind if I take a look? Sometimes it's something simple that." "Simple?" Marcus interrupted, his voice getting louder. "This is a Bugatti Chiron, not some beat-up Honda you people usually work on. Do you have any idea how much this car costs?" The words hung in the air like poison. Jordan's face remained calm, but something flickered in her eyes, a flash of hurt that she quickly covered with professional composure. "I understand you're frustrated," she said quietly, "but I might be able to help if you'll let me." "Help?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "What could you possibly know about European engineering? This car probably costs more than you make in 10 years. I need a real mechanic, not someone who learned to change oil at some community college." A crowd was gathering now, phones coming out to record the scene. Marcus was too angry to notice, but Jordan saw them. She saw the way people were looking at her, some with pity, some with anger at Marcus, others just hungry for drama. What would you do in her position? Would you walk away from someone treating you with such disrespect? Would you try to defend yourself? Or would you choose a different path entirely? Jordan took a deep breath and made a choice that would change everything. "You're absolutely right," Jordan said, her voice steady and calm. "I probably don't know much about cars that cost $3 million. Marcus smirked, thinking he had one. "But," Jordan continued, "I do know that when the engine temperature gauge is redlining and there's coolant pooling under the car, it usually means you've blown a head gasket. And when that happens to a Bugatti W16 engine, you're looking at about $50,000 in repairs, minimum." Marcus's smirk faded slightly. Anyone could guess that. Jordan nodded. You're right again. Anyone could guess. Just like anyone could guess that you probably ignored the engine warning light that came on about 10 minutes before the car actually died. The Chiron has 3 separate cooling systems, and when the primary system fails, you have maybe 5 minutes before catastrophic engine damage occurs. She pointed to the dashboard, where indeed a small warning light was blinking. But here's what most people don't know, Jordan continued, her voice growing more confident. The 2023 Chiron has a manufacturing defect in the coolant pump assembly. Bugatti issued a recall notice 3 months ago, but a lot of owners haven't brought their cars in yet because the dealerships are backed up for months. Marcus stared at her, his mouth slightly open. How do you know about that? Jordan smiled for the first time. Because I've been following the recall notices on high-end vehicles. It's part of my job. She reached into her toolbox and pulled out a tablet, swiping through several screens before showing Marcus an official document. Recall Notice BUG 2024-007, she read. Coolant pump assembly failure in vehicles manufactured between January and March 2024. Your VIN number should be in this range if I'm right. Marcus looked at the VIN plate on his dashboard, then back at the tablet. The numbers matched perfectly. Who are you? Marcus asked, his anger beginning to transform into confusion. Jordan straightened up, and for the first time, Marcus really looked at her. Beyond the coveralls and the grease stains, he saw intelligence, confidence, and a quiet dignity that hadn't been broken by his cruel words. My name is Jordan Peterson, she said. And you're partially right. I did go to community college. But I also have a master's degree in mechanical engineering from MIT, and I spent 3 years working for McLaren's Formula One team before coming back home to help my father with his shop. The crowd around them had grown larger, and Marcus could hear murmurs of surprise and approval. Peterson's auto shop, Jordan continued, has been in my family for 40 years. We've worked on everything from vintage Ferraris to modern hypercars. That beat-up Honda comment was interesting, though, because we actually specialize in high-end European imports. In fact, we're one of only 3 shops in the state certified to work on Bugatti vehicles. Marcus felt the ground shifting beneath his feet. Everything he had assumed, every cruel word he had spoken, was crashing down around him. But here's the thing, Mr. Blackwood, Marcus said quietly. Marcus Blackwood. Jordan's eyebrows rose slightly. Blackwood Industries? The tech company. Marcus nodded, suddenly feeling very small despite his wealth and status. Well, Mr. Blackwood, here's what I'm going to do. Despite the fact that you just spent the last 10 minutes insulting me, questioning my abilities, and making assumptions about who I am based on how I look, I'm still going to help you. She walked back to his car and popped the hood. Steam billowed out, but Jordan didn't flinch. She examined the engine with practiced eyes, then reached into her toolbox for a few basic tools. The good news is that you caught it just in time. The head gasket is intact, but your coolant pump is definitely failing. I can't fix it permanently here on the street, but I can get you running long enough to make it to a proper garage. For the next 15 minutes, Jordan worked on the engine while Marcus watched in stunned silence. Her hands moved with the precision of a surgeon, and she talked quietly to herself as she worked, using technical terms that Marcus recognized from his engineering background but had never heard applied to automotive repair. As Jordan worked, Marcus found himself thinking about his own journey. He had built his fortune by recognizing talent wherever he found it, by seeing potential that others missed. His company's success came from hiring brilliant people regardless of their background, age, or appearance. So how had he become this person? When had success made him so arrogant that he could look at someone and make such cruel, baseless assumptions? There, Jordan said, wiping her hands on a rag. Try starting it now. Marcus got into the car and turned the key. The engine roared to life, purring smoothly once again. The temperature gauge showed normal readings, and the warning light had gone off. He stepped out of the car, and for a moment, he just looked at Jordan. The crowd was still watching, still recording, waiting to see what would happen next. Jordan, Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. I owe you an apology. Actually, I owe you much more than that. Jordan closed her toolbox and looked at him steadily. Go on. Everything I said was wrong. Not just factually wrong, but morally wrong. I judged you based on assumptions and prejudices that have no place in any decent person's mind. You tried to help me, and I responded with cruelty and disrespect. Marcus paused, gathering his courage. You could have walked away. You should have walked away. But instead, you chose to help someone who didn't deserve it. That says everything about who you are and nothing good about who I've become. The crowd around them had fallen silent. Even the traffic noise seemed muted as everyone waited for Jordan's response. Apology accepted, Jordan said simply. But I want you to understand something, Mr. Blackwood. This isn't just about me. Every day, people make assumptions about others based on race, gender, age, or appearance. Your assumptions today were about my capabilities as a black woman in a male-dominated field. She gestured to the crowd around them. All these people just watched you judge me, dismiss me, and try to humiliate me. But they also watched me choose to help you anyway. Not because you deserved it, but because it was the right thing to do. Marcus nodded, understanding beginning to dawn in his eyes. The question is, Jordan continued, what are you going to do with this lesson? Are you going to go back to your boardroom and your billion-dollar deals and forget this ever happened? Or are you going to remember that talent, intelligence, and character don't come with a particular look or background? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, processing everything that had happened. When he spoke again, his voice was different, humbler, more thoughtful. Jordan, I want to ask you something, and please feel free to say no. Would you consider coming to work for my company? Jordan raised an eyebrow. Doing what? We're developing autonomous vehicle technology. We need engineers who understand both the mechanical and software sides of automotive systems. Based on what I just saw, you're exactly the kind of talent we've been looking for. Jordan considered this. What makes you think I want to leave my family's business? I don't, Marcus said quickly. I'm not asking you to abandon your father's shop. I'm asking if you'd be interested in consulting work, maybe helping us understand real-world mechanical challenges that our software needs to account for. You could work with us part-time while still running Peterson's. For the first time since the encounter began, Jordan smiled genuinely. That's an interesting proposition. But I have conditions. Name them. First, my father's shop becomes your official service partner for any automotive testing you need. Second, you fund a scholarship program for underrepresented students studying engineering. And third. She paused, looking around at the crowd that was still filming. You use this experience to really examine how your company hires and promotes people. Make sure you're not just talking about diversity. Make sure you're actually creating opportunities for people who might not look like your typical executive. Marcus extended his hand. Deal. Jordan shook it firmly. Deal. The video of the encounter, filmed by multiple bystanders, went viral within hours. But unlike many viral videos that simply shame and move on, this one sparked a different kind of conversation. People shared their own stories of being underestimated, of facing prejudice, and of choosing to respond with grace instead of anger. Marcus, true to his word, followed through on every promise. Peterson's Auto Shop became the go-to service center for Blackwood Industries' vehicle testing program. The scholarship fund, which Marcus named the Second Look Foundation, provided full-ride engineering scholarships to 50 students in its first year alone. But perhaps most importantly, Marcus changed how his company approached hiring and promotion. He instituted blind resume reviews for initial screenings, expanded recruiting efforts to include more historically black colleges and universities, and required unconscious bias training for all management staff. Jordan's consulting work with Blackwood Industries led to 3 breakthrough patents in autonomous vehicle safety systems. Her unique perspective, combining high-level engineering knowledge with practical, hands-on mechanical experience, proved invaluable in developing technology that worked not just in theory, but in the real world. 6 months later, Marcus returned to Peterson's Auto Shop, not because his Bugatti was broken, but because he wanted to check on the scholarship students who were doing summer internships there. "You know," Jordan said, watching him interact with the young engineers, "you're a completely different person than the man I met that day." Marcus considered this. "No," he said finally. "I think I'm the same person I always was underneath. I just forgot who that was for a while. Success, money, power, they can make you believe you're better than other people. But that day, you reminded me that the only thing that makes anyone better is how they treat others." As we reach the end of this story, there's an important question we all need to ask ourselves. How many times have we made assumptions about people based on their appearance, their job, their background, or their circumstances? How many brilliant minds have we dismissed? How many opportunities for connection and growth have we missed because we couldn't see past our own prejudices? Marcus learned that wealth and status mean nothing if they're built on a foundation of disrespect for others. Jordan showed him, and all of us, that true strength lies not in putting others down, but in lifting them up, even when they don't deserve it. But here's the real question. What will you do with this lesson? Will you look a little deeper before making judgments? Will you give people the benefit of the doubt? Will you recognize that everyone has something valuable to offer, regardless of how they look or where they come from? The choice, as always, is yours. This story of transformation, redemption, and the power of giving people a second look is just one example of how our assumptions can blind us to the incredible potential in every person we meet. If you've been moved by Marcus and Jordan's encounter, if it's made you think differently about the snap judgments we all make, then you're ready for more stories that challenge, inspire, and open our minds to new possibilities. At Beyond Yesterday, we believe that every day offers a chance to see the world, and the people in it, with fresh eyes. Our stories explore the moments that change us, the encounters that teach us, and the choices that define who we become. Ready to discover more stories that will challenge your perspective and inspire positive change? Subscribe to Beyond Yesterday on YouTube and join our community of people who believe in the power of second chances, open minds, and transformed hearts. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because you never know when the next story might be the one that changes everything for you. Your journey beyond yesterday starts now.